When you're just thinking me, you can only go so far. And by the way, working with different partners and they all have vested interests, suddenly you open the doors with their resources and access to their circles. And everybody wants this thing to become successful. A lot of women don't feel like a woman in the relationship. And a lot of men don't feel like men in the relationship. This shows you, wow, we are not on the same page. I'm arguing with you. You're arguing with me. Right. I don't like the way you argue. I don't like the way you're talking to me. When was the last time we made something? The reason why is because we have become accustomed to copying and pasting. Yeah. So if it's Survivor, we call it Muslim Survivor. If it's The Office, the show, the Muslim Office show. Why can't we make our own stuff? So if people who are looking for halal investment opportunities, when you can't find it, you have to make your own. Do things the right way, do things Islamically, and there's barakah in the process. Absolutely. And that's the same advice I would give people looking to get married.
Welcome to today's episode of the Journey Podcast. Today we have a very special guest, the one, the only, Baba Ali. Known for a sharp wit and unique perspective, Baba Ali has been a trailblazer in the world of comedy, using his humor to break barriers and spark important conversations. He's also a pioneer in the online space, becoming one of the early YouTubers to blend humor with insightful commentary, especially around the intricacies of the matrimonial process in the Muslim community. From his hilarious skits to deep dives into relationships, Baba Ali's work has resonated with millions. In this episode, we'll be talking about his journey from being a YouTube pioneer to navigating the complexities of marriage and how comedy plays a role in both. So whether you're looking for laughs or life lessons, this episode's got you covered. Let's dive in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Baba Ali, it's great to have you on the podcast.
It's great to be here. I'm excited.
This is actually pretty crazy because this is like, I'd say you're definitely the highest profile guest I've had so far. And honestly, like, I'm so excited to get all of your insight on so many different topics. I'm
humbled here, man. Alhamdulillah. I'm really excited to be here. I can't wait to see what we're going to be talking about.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. You know, so in preparation for this podcast, I basically binge watched all of like the podcasts and everything you've been on, because over the years you've been on so many. And you know, it's funny, like, because everybody remembers Baba Ali from the early years, right? Being on YouTube, the Muslim guy on YouTube, right? And I just want to kind of start off with that, right? Like, what was it like being on YouTube in those early years? Were you always a creative person? I almost wanted to say that it was kind of like taboo to be on YouTube, like Muslim YouTube, like, what is this guy doing? Like, why are you making videos, right? Like, I'm sure you might have heard those kinds of questions. So
back in 2006, I was looking to see what other Muslim YouTubers were doing. Mm-hmm. I searched for 3 days and I couldn't find one. And I think, I couldn't find one. So I said, I think I'll be the first one. So I didn't know what to do. So I said, okay, I'm going to try to talk to the camera. So I went to Jummah, came back and talked about all the funny stuff I saw during Jummah.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even designed myself. The plan was not for me to even be behind the camera, in front of the camera.
Right.
The plan was to be behind the camera.
Right, right.
So a long time ago, I designed this board game. It became quite popular. Mm-hmm. Ended up meeting this guy who had his own TV station, and I was inspired to start my own film company. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, I'm going to buy some equipment and do all this other crazy stuff. I'll put it all together and give it to my film friends who've been always talking about, hey, I can't wait to make a movie.
Yeah.
I wish we had equipment.
Yeah.
I wish we had all this stuff so we can do stuff with it. I'm like, guys, here you go.
Yeah.
And they got so excited. 3 months later, I asked them, hey, what'd you guys make?
Yeah.
They gave me like 3 seconds of footage. And right there, I was like, guys, give me my equipment back.
If you want something done, you got to do it yourself.
Oh, man. So I didn't know what to do with it. I don't know how to use this stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not even supposed to be in front of the camera. So I flipped the camera over. It didn't even have a viewfinder. It was a fancy camera. Those ones you use for filmmaking.
Sure.
And it wasn't made for selfies back then.
Right.
This is 2006.
Right.
And I was like, what do I talk about? I didn't know what to talk about. So I went to Jummah.
Yeah.
I came back. I realized that some funny stuff happens during Jummah, and I just was talking about that.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't know who's going to watch it. So I sent it to a couple of friends.
Uh-huh.
Those friends sent to other friends, sent to other friends. Eventually, a few friends became 20 million views.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. SubhanAllah. You know, that's honestly inspiring, right? A lot of times, you know, you just go out and you do what you like to do. And, you know, like, if it's written for you, you know, they call it like 15 seconds of fame, but like that's how a lot of people kind of make it in life, right? It's just like serendipity.
And I didn't want to even become popular. My whole thing was I just wanted to send to my friends to get their reactions.
Right.
I didn't realize they're going to send to other people.
Right.
So what happened, it just kind of spread on its own. It's organically. So I only have like 80,000 subscribers, but 20 million views.
Right.
And these were like 100,000 per video type of thing. So I was
Yeah.
like, who's watching this? And if I knew people were going to be watching it, I probably dressed nicer. I was dressed in my sleeping clothes. Seriously, most of the videos are dressed in my sleeping clothes. Bad lighting,
You know, that's
audio's off.
that's actually hilarious because now that I think back at it, yeah, for sure, right? It was because it literally felt like this guy in his room just woke up and he was like, okay, let me just turn on the camera and just like talk to the camera. And it's funny. It's because especially I think in that time, it was so like unorthodox, right? Like, why would you want to put yourself completely out there and you're just talking about like random things, right? Doing little skits, right? It was like nowadays people. I mean, if you look at today's social media,
Yeah.
people put everything out there and nothing's
Yeah.
left to, you know.
I wouldn't even, I'll be embarrassed to even show my wife this stuff.
Yeah.
So I'll wait for it to fall asleep. So when she went to sleep, I made the video. That's why I look so sleepy in the videos. They're all recorded from like midnight to like Fajr. So I'm recording this stuff when she's sleeping, and then she wouldn't watch the videos for maybe a week later. My friends wouldn't watch it. I was just kind of like sent to like a few friends. You know those friends that you send like inside memes to?
Exactly.
Those
Yeah,
are the kind of friends
yeah.
I would send my videos to.
Yeah.
So a lot of my friends like, why are you suddenly getting all these views? What are you doing?
Yeah.
So my wife got curious. A week later, she's watching my videos.
Right.
And she's like, this is the same person I know for all these years.
Right.
I don't see
Mashallah.
what the big deal is.
Right. SubhanAllah. You know, that's so interesting. But you know, you mentioned that you started off creating board games, right? And I
Yeah.
know you're also a comedian. So I'm so curious, like, and you know, offline we've talked about all these different projects you're working on, and what I'm really amazed by is like your creativity and how you've managed to like kind of maintain that after all of these years. I feel like a lot of times, you go through the school system and it's like that all that creativity you have as a child is kind of like stripped from you.
Yeah.
And then you just find yourself just trying to follow instructions, right? It's like, oh, how do you do this? Oh, look it up and just follow that template. So how do you maintain that, like staying a trailblazer in all these different areas?
When I was a kid, I was bored a lot. When I was
Uh-huh.
bored a lot, I was forced to be creative. Kids today, they're not really bored. You have like access to millions of films on your phone. You have games. You have all these different things that keep you stimulated.
Mhm.
I had to keep myself stimulated by pretending and keep coming up with things. So as I grew,
Yeah.
I tried to translate that to like projects. So I always try to try new things and try to do things differently. So with the board game, I wanted to, like, I'll tell you the story behind the board game. One day, someone knocks on my door and says, Ali, do you have any board games? A neighbor of mine's, a
Mhm.
Muslim neighbor. And I said, I don't play board games. Let me check. I went and looked and I found a Monopoly. I said, here you go. And he's like, we were looking for something different. We don't want a Monopoly. And I closed the door and I turned around. I said, I'm going to invent a Muslim board game. And I did what every single Muslim who wants to make a board game does. I made another Muslim trivia game. After 6 months, I realized this thing is trash. I threw it away.
Yeah.
And I said, I can't make what everyone else is making. I got to make something unique and different. Otherwise, I'll have the same results as everybody else.
Mhm.
But I didn't have the money to make a board game. They cost around, to make it production wise, everything was going to cost me about, I think, I don't know, 10,000, 11,000, something around there.
SubhanAllah.
And then with the marketing, cost me about 18 grand.
Oh wow.
I didn't have $18,000 at that time.
Mhm.
So what I did is I made the prototype of this new game. For those who are into games, it is a mixture of like Catan and Ticket to Ride.
Okay.
So put those two worlds together.
Yeah.
So I said Muslims at that time had no idea what Catan was, let alone what Ticket to Ride was. So I put it together
Right.
and I showed it to a few friends. They were all playing Halo at that time.
Yeah.
And I told them to take a break from the Halo for a minute,
Yeah.
try my game out, and go right back to Halo.
Yeah.
And they would do it as a favor for me. The next time they say, hey, you got your update to your game? I say, yeah, another one. Long story short, every single person that play tested it say, hey, can I invest? Can I invest? And I wasn't even looking for investors. I just wanted them to see if the game is good or not.
Right.
The first 6 people to ask me, I let them invest into it. They all made a 24% return.
Allah Akbar.
So that alhamdulillah. So the $18,000 that I didn't have, I only put 5 in. My wife put her mahar money in.
MashaAllah.
She only had
mashallah.
3,000.
Very supportive.
Yeah,
MashaAllah.
she had 1,000, I think. 1,000? I think so. Okay. So she put her money in and she flipped her money.
MashaAllah.
By the way, that's how she's been very successful. She's flipped her money in all my different projects, and she keeps flipping it and flipping it and flipping it from the very moment I married her.
By investing in you.
By investing in me.
MashaAllah. Beat the stock market.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
Allah
So,
Akbar, Allah Akbar. That's so amazing, and I think one of the main things is like you just went out and you actually did it, right? I think a lot of people have all these different ideas where like, oh yeah, only if we had this, only if we had that. Like I'm curious. So your first draft of this board game, like or is it just like cardboard cutouts? Like how
Yeah,
is
I
it
did with
that you're?
pieces of paper,
Yeah.
and I just started trying it out, and then I actually made it into a physical prototype where they're actually using cards to play.
Hmm.
And I try to make it somewhat professional so people get a sense of what it would really feel like.
Right.
And then after that, I made one physical, real prototype.
Hmm.
And then I still wasn't sure if I should make thousands of them
Hmm.
because I said maybe my friends are being nice to me.
Yeah.
So I drove 30 miles away to a masjid, and they had like some type of qiyam or something at night. And while people were doing push-ups and playing basketball,
Yeah.
I found a bunch of people who weren't doing nothing. I said,
Yep.
hey guys, you want to play a board game? I said, sure. I didn't say it was my board game.
Yeah.
So they all started playing a game. And after the game was done, they said, that was cool, man. Where'd you buy this? I said, why? I want to buy one. And the guy's like, I'll buy one too. Out of the 3 people I played with, 2 wanted to buy it. I drove home. I'm ordering thousands of these.
Allah Akbar.
And that was the rest. That was the rest was history. I
Yeah.
ordered 2,500 of them. I sold them all.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
It took about a year and a half to do so because at that time no one bought Muslim board games.
Mm.
The only things we had was trivia, and
Right.
as soon as I said Muslim board game, they thought I was making a trivia game.
Right. Right.
They didn't
right.
know this was a negotiating game.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, and what's interesting, non-Muslims own the game.
Oh yeah.
Non-Muslims who don't like Islam
Right.
own
Right.
the game. I said, can I build a game
Yeah.
that non-Muslims who don't like Islam
Right.
would actually purchase the game?
Right. Right.
And they have the game till today.
It's too funny because I'm a big fan of Catan. I'll play it, like I have the expansion pack and everything, and then even Ticket to Ride, right? And then just the idea of just putting that like Muslim or Islamic twist on it, it makes a lot of sense. Like you take the features of those games that really make it fun and enjoyable and addictive, and then you just translate that over. So yeah, I mean, it's great to hear. Honestly, it's subhanAllah.
And I wanted my friends to be successful too. It wasn't just about me making money. I want everyone to get dibs on this. So it's like, hey, I'll invest my own money too. But everyone, we're all making the exact same percentage. I'm making as much as you are.
MashaAllah.
So it's not like, okay, guys, I want to move myself ahead and everybody else stay where you are. Let's all get into this together.
Yeah.
And I made every game into its own project. So, hey, if you couldn't jump in the first one, try the second game. So my wife and I said, look, let's just make our own game. And I did. She helped me fund my second game with her profits of the first one. And that game did even better than the first one.
MashaAllah.
I sold 800 of those in the first month.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, I think I'm onto something here. And as soon as those two were working out really, really good,
Yeah.
I told my wife, I'm going to start into something completely new. She's
Yeah.
like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I think we should help Muslims get married. It's like, what? What does that have to do with games? Nothing. I want to move on to something new. And by the way, that's a real test for my wife. Every single time something has been successful,
Right.
I want to move on to something else.
I-
That's my test. I get bored easily. I like the challenge. It's not about the money.
Yeah.
Can I build something different and unique that others are not doing?
Right.
And if I see something like, I see, for example, the board games. I thought Muslims were making anything unique or fun.
Right.
So I went to that world. I was
Yeah.
successful twice.
Yeah.
After I sold thousands of games, I'm like, I'm bored of it. I want to do something different. So
Mhm.
I saw Muslims wanting to get married.
Yeah.
Let me try that.
Yeah.
Muslim comedy. Let me try that. Muslim films. Let me try that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Each time something different.
Yeah, subhanAllah. I mean, we're definitely gonna touch on that, right? There's so many other kind of things that you've initiatives that you've launched that have been so successful. One thing before you go, we move on from this. So you mentioned like that collective of utilizing, like leaning on your friends, and then is that something that you is that like a maxim that you've always followed? Like, because I'm trying to figure out like what is the recipe for success for Baba Ali. It sounds like like you said, like you're not doing it for the money, and then you always, like, I guess, have your wife or your friends as a business partner. Is that like something that you always try to like live by? Or
I think the formula would be, one is that I don't try to get greedy with it. So I want to make sure that I charge a fair price. At the same time, I bring people in and let everyone benefit together. I think the synergy of working with different people could make it very, very successful. When you're just thinking me,
Mhm.
you can only go so far. And by the
Right.
way, working with different partners and they all have vested interests, suddenly you open the doors with their resources and access to their circles. And everybody wants this thing to become successful. So I have people who work for Fortune 5 companies, at least 3 or 4 of them that are at least 2 or 3 at the top, thinking the top of my head, that were part of these investment groups.
Right.
That part of this group of making this game.
Right.
And they're very, very successful today.
Right. Right.
But they were initially, back then, they were just regular people just like me. And
Right.
like, hey, let's just jump into this opportunity.
Right.
Number 2, I know for a fact, just like myself, there's very few halal investment opportunities for Muslims.
Mm.
So if I can open that door for everybody else,
Right.
that could be a plus too. It's not just about making money. Now,
Right.
don't get me wrong, this is not non-profit. This is for profit.
Mhm.
But just because it's for profit doesn't mean that we make money the primary
Of course.
thing. Let's
Yeah.
let's do things the right way.
Right.
Everyone makes their money,
Right.
and then charge for a fair price too.
Right.
But I think all of it worked out. Like I would sell the game for $25 at that time, and I was able to make it for like $3.
Allahu Akbar.
No, actually $2.50
MashaAllah.
delivered to my home.
That's okay.
So that's a huge
Yeah.
profit margin, which
Right.
allowed me to give everyone their profit share. So the people who sold it made money.
Yep.
The investors made money. I made money.
Yep.
Everyone made money. And the people who bought it, I'm not trying to oversell it. I mean, $25 for a game that's very unique and different.
Absolutely.
That is,
No, that's a steal.
yeah.
Especially like even nowadays, if you look at any board games, like, yeah, you look at your market and your competition, and it's very reasonable, right?
Yeah.
So definitely. So yeah, let's switch gears a little bit. You talked about how you change projects, right? So what got you interested into like entering the matrimonial space and kind of starting that initiative?
I struggled through looking for my other half myself,
Mhm.
and I realized how difficult it is. And 20 something years later, I see the Muslims are in the same boat as I was.
Allahu Akbar.
It is not easy. In fact, I think it's even more difficult, even though you have access to millions of people today. Back then, I didn't have access to 8 million people on this website, 10 million people on this website. We didn't have that. You have thousands of people, if that. And over then, it was like your eye color, your hair color, your height, your weight, and you're supposed to look for each other that way. It was such a like a bio data, old auntie style.
Little spec sheet, yeah.
Yeah, and that's not how people get married. It's not. People are not like used cars. They're human beings, right? So that's
Yeah.
how we just write them out like that.
Yeah.
I'm a convert.
Mhm.
I have my family doesn't practice any type of religion.
Right.
My local community is not very active.
Mhm.
So I can't go through my community. I can't go through my family. I'm a convert, so I can't go through even ethnicity connection. So if you
Right.
happen to be more Indonesian, Indonesian community. If
Right.
you know Indian Pakistani, you have that community. I'm Persian.
Mhm.
The last time you see a Persian in the Muslim community is like the guy. We have one guy Persian guy who comes to our masjid. He only goes there to deliver kebab.
Okay. Alhamdulillah. It's
It's for Jummah. He
Yeah.
doesn't even see it for Jummah. He just delivers the kebab and leaves. So it's like you don't even see these people Persian. So how am I supposed to find a Persian guy, a Persian woman to marry?
Right.
It's hard. So I didn't
Right.
have any of those things. So I did the unthinkable.
Mhm.
I went online.
Mm.
And this is 2001.
Yeah, different time.
A different time. And online is brand new. Internet's a few years old.
Of course. Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know which website works.
Right.
So I joined all of them.
Of course.
All of them.
Of course. Yeah.
And yeah.
You gotta pull all your fishing rods out and see if anything bites, right? So, yeah, subhanAllah. Actually, so let's talk about that. So, Half Our Deen, it launched in
2010.
2010, right? It's been now 15 years now, right? The landscape, how has it changed? How has it evolved? How has Half Our Deen evolved since then?
Yeah. So when we first people were looking to get married, everything was public websites.
Mhm.
So we still have basically everything's public. I tried to do something different, right? Me and my partner, we decided, let's try something unique no one has ever done before. Let's make a private website. Even when I told my wife, like, what do you mean a private website? That you don't know who's on the website until you join it. They're like, why would anyone join the website? Because you don't know who's on the website until you join it, because there's a lot of people who are more private.
Mhm.
There's introverts out there who don't want their picture blasted. They don't want every auntie to know that you're looking to get married.
Sure.
They think that the only people that should look to get married, they should know that you're looking to get married, are people looking to get married.
Mhm.
I said, that's what I would want.
Right.
So maybe I make a product that would people who
caters
want
to that.
caters to that audience.
Yeah.
And I found out a bunch of people joined.
Mhm.
So a lot of people are like me. They don't
Right.
want the whole world to know that they're looking to get married.
Right.
And once they leave the website, they disappear too. So
Right.
don't use my picture for advertising.
Right.
Even though I find my other half on your website, I don't want people to be
Right.
seeing my picture.
Right.
And that's why Half Our Deen has like thousands of success stories, but maybe like 30 success stories public.
Right.
And those are volunteered by people who said, hey, post my picture up.
Exactly.
Everyone else says, please don't let anyone know.
Okay. So one of the differentiators, I guess, because nowadays I think you see so many different platforms, right, that folks use trying to get married, especially I think here in the US or in the West, right? Because this this is like the number one topic for like if someone's not married, this is like the thing that everyone's always trying to chime in on. What are you doing? Do you know anybody? What do you recommend? The shuyukh talking about it. You go to any universities, people are talking about gender relationships. So one of the I guess the unique things about Half Our Deen is I guess the privacy aspect of it. But then what other I guess features does it really have that you think makes it stand apart in this day and age?
This sounds crazy on what I'm about to tell you. It actually helps you look. It helps the people who are actually looking to get married. Now you're probably wondering, well, that doesn't sound strange.
Okay.
Well, the dating apps aren't designed to help you get married. They're designed to keep you single. Because when you have investors who are asking two questions, when do I make my money and how much money do I make? Those are two questions investors ask. So when an investor comes in and puts their money into a swiping app, that's all they care about. And as long as you're doing this, you're making them money. When do you stop doing this? Is either when you give up or you don't get married. Or you get married, I'm sorry.
Exactly, yeah.
So getting you married doesn't serve their purpose.
Right.
And making you give up,
they lose hope. They lose customers.
They lose customers. So what they have to do is give you surface level matches so you get some type of dopamine rush.
Right.
And then get rinse and repeat.
Right.
So if you get, they don't want to get, it's like a drug dealer. They don't want to make sure you don't get clean.
Right.
And they don't want you to overdose either.
Right.
So the idea is to keep you swiping.
Yeah.
And to give you false hope. And that's why their numbers continue to grow. Think about it. If this was a hospital,
right,
it is not a flex to say, hey, we're getting more and more sick patients. When people are sick at our hospital, they stay.
Right.
Because we got 3 million last year, now we got 5 million people in our hospital, all sick. And no one has a cure for anybody.
Right.
People ask me, hey, Baba Ali, how come your numbers don't grow dramatically?
Right.
I say, if they're growing dramatically, then maybe I'm not doing the right thing.
That's a good point.
I don't have one single friend, not one male single friend that's close to me that's not married now. Most of them have met their half through Half Our Deen.
Right.
Even my first success story is still married to today.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
So that tells me something's going good.
Yeah.
If I tell you, hey, our numbers are doubling, tripling, quadrupling, you're like, wait a second. Aren't you supposed to be helping people get married?
Right.
Why do you keep increasing your numbers?
Yeah. So I mean, that begs to ask that question, right? I guess like with all of these apps, the swiping apps, like, is it derogatory to like the psyche of the Muslim, of the person that's trying to get married? Like, is it like kind of putting them in a space? Because you always hear about people that become disenchanted, disheartened with the process, just constantly, the ups and downs, and I think that can still exist even if you're not on the apps. But do you think like depending on because think about it, like even like back in the day, I would imagine that you go through family, maybe you have like a matchmaker auntie or something like that kind of facilitates things. You're not seeing dozens or like hundreds of people like every day, every week, something like that, right? Yeah. You see maybe once in a blue moon almost, right? And then you take it seriously, you discuss, and then if it doesn't work out, alhamdulillah, but it's I think a more reasonable pace versus like what these kind of apps kind of do to your psyche. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, they've reduced you down to your picture, your first name, and your age. And you swipe, give you half a second to look through you.
Right.
So it's whatever's on the surface. So if I do match up with somebody, it's a surface level match. There's no deep compatibility. So another thing that makes Half Our Deen so different is that we show your personality, we show your priorities, we show what will make you guys, what type of challenges you would have, what will make you amazing together. We'll show you answers to 157 quiz questions. We show your love languages, what order they're in. We show all this details so you can really get a little bit more depth and then show you what percentage compatible you are in every different aspect. After all of that, you can decide, do I want to reach out to this person? You can even see their deal breaker questions, which reveals a lot about them and the way they think. Other websites don't do this. They're not designed for this. And by the way, since we ask all these questions, a lot of people don't want to answer all these questions.
Right.
They just want to swipe.
Sure.
So they're not going to join Half Our Deen. So we actually like that because we want to filter down to just the marriage-minded people.
Right.
So I want that deep compatibility. So when I bring those same people into events, and then again, we don't do what other people do, like basic speed dating nonsense.
Right.
We actually have deep compatibility activities that help you learn about each other.
Right.
So you can actually get married.
Right.
I mean, ask yourself, how many people are on XYZ website, right? Millions. Muslim dating apps.
Right.
How many people do you know that have been married on it? If you're like, well, I don't really know anybody. Yeah, I know a friend of a friend that knows somebody. Well,
Right.
if there's millions of people on this app,
Right.
10 million some of them claim.
Yeah, even a low percentage, you'd know a lot more
You should
people.
know like 100
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
The very fact that you don't know 100 people tells you it's not working.
Hmm.
In fact, I'll tell you something for everyone to do when they go home today.
Yeah.
If you're watching this on the internet right now, I want you to Google your favorite Muslim dating app and go straight to their homepage.
Yeah.
And go straight to their success stories. And they'll have a number there. Maybe have 1 million success stories.
Mhm.
Then divide 1 million by the number of users they have.
Mhm.
And that tells you the match percentage.
Right.
And I can almost guarantee you their failure rating is 95%.
Well, that's not good numbers, right?
That's not good numbers. But guess what? 95% is great if you're an investor.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because I only lose 5%
retention.
churn.
Yeah.
5% churn. 95% of people are going to keep swiping for the rest of their life. And that's not good for us Muslims who are looking to get married. Now, I'll tell you another reason why it fails.
Mhm.
The reason why it fails is because we are not looking to help them get married. I'll give you evidence for that. If we were looking to help these Muslims get married, we would not have copied Tinder.
Mm.
We would have copied eHarmony.
Mhm.
Because Tinder, everyone knows, is a hookup app.
Right.
Match.com, which owns Tinder,
Mhm.
it knows that Tinder has a certain purpose.
Mhm.
OkCupid has a certain purpose. Bumble has a certain purpose. If you go under Match.com's umbrella,
Mhm.
you'll notice all of these are under all these amazing sites that they own, these dating sites that they own that makes a lot of revenue.
Right.
But the one that's a monster is Tinder that makes the most amount of money.
Mhm.
Muslims say, hey, we can copy any site we want. Let's copy the ones made for hookups. So when we copy that, guess what kind of Muslims we attract?
Right.
The type of ones that many Muslims are complaining about. Ask any female, not one.
Right.
I go across the board.
Mhm.
Any female, her experience is the type of men that they experience on the Muslim dating apps.
Right.
And it's not like, some sisters. Almost all of them will tell you the quality of men isn't very good.
SubhanAllah.
Now, are Muslim men bad? No.
Right.
But the type of men that are attracted to this are not the type of men who are marriage-minded, and they don't match with sisters.
Right. SubhanAllah. Yeah, no, that's actually like a crazy point, to think that like the platform that most Muslims are using now was modeled after a hookup app. Like it's ajib, like it's very, very strange. So
and then you get similar situation where you're gonna have majority men are using it and only a fraction of women. And if you Google the numbers and you do your research, you'll see the majority of people that are using these dating apps happen to men, and only a fraction happen to be women. But then if you go to any Islamic conference for marriage, you'll see the majority are women, only a fraction of men.
Right.
So the men aren't looking to get married; they're looking for other stuff. And some of the women, by the way, aren't looking to get married either; they're looking for validation.
Right.
That's why the guys get ghosted. They start you match up with somebody similar. People have had this similar experience, and then they get no response.
Right.
Like, what happened? We were talking. Well, she was seeking validation.
Yeah. You
were seeking something else, and it fizzled to nothing.
Yeah.
And that's a problem we have today. I wish Muslims like really were being more transparent on what we're actually doing here. We're not really helping these people. So what I tried with Half Our Deen, I said, listen, I'm gonna try to do different. I'm not gonna be very popular. I'm not gonna get millions of people, but I'm hopefully get people married. And almost, if you talk to different people, somebody will tell you, I know someone that met on Half Our Deen.
Right.
Now, imagine how that has to be when there's only 2,500 people using Half Our Deen, and most people know somebody that got married off of it.
Right.
If you do the math, if I'm 2,500 and somebody else is 10 million, you should have like thousands of people for every person you know on Half Our Deen that got married.
Absolutely.
But you don't.
Right. And it's interesting. I mean, I know I was listening to some of your other podcasts, and then you kind of repeatedly you say that the Half Our Deen live event is something that you're most passionate about right now. So tell me about that. Like, why? Like, I guess the live events specifically. Why are you so passionate about those?
As much as we're talking about online, if it's up to me, I prefer to bring someone. I would rather have them come in person to see each other. Because if they see each other in person, there's something that you see interacting than talking online.
Right.
There's this energy that people carry. The way they behave, their mannerisms, it just doesn't come across on a profile.
Right.
So the profile is good for data and seeing like where are you from? What's your ethnicity? What do you do for a living? That kind of stuff. That's fine. But when it comes to actually like seeing for a compatible, there's something that you really need to, you can't get online. You have to see each other in person. So what I do with them activities at our events is completely different than what you do at like speed dating events. So I'll tell you what, for those who are not familiar with speed dating events, the way it works is generally you're going to go sit in a room. They have a line of chairs. It's almost like a deportation system. When you cross the border, they catch you.
Yeah.
So they put you all in a single file line, and then the people interviewing you, or sometimes
cross-examining
you, interrogating
just grilling you. Yeah, absolutely.
And they're grilling you for 3 minutes. Where are you from? What are you doing? I don't know. So what they're going to do is they ask you these questions, and as soon as you rotate after 3 minutes, you answer the exact same questions again.
Yeah.
And by the time you speak to the 30th person,
right,
you sound like a broken record.
Right.
And then you're trying to remember what everyone said.
Exactly.
And all I know is your first name and your name badge.
Sure. If that. Right.
So what are we doing here? I mean, how am I supposed to decide someone I'm going to marry in 3 minutes? I just want everyone to think about it. For those who's watching this from home, go to your non-Muslim friends and say, guess what I did this weekend? I was looking to get married. Really?
Yeah.
How do you guys do that in your religion? Well, we go to an Islamic conference and we all sit down and we talk to people for 3 minutes each. And at the very end, we decide who we want to pursue for marriage. And they'll say, well, that's a very strange religion. It's like nothing to do with our religion.
Yeah.
Then why do you guys do it? It must work, right? No, it doesn't work. But we rinse and repeat it each year at every Islamic conference across the board.
Yeah.
I think that's such a strange thing. So you do something that doesn't work.
Right.
It hasn't worked.
Right.
It fails for 99% of people, and it's awkward.
Yeah.
And you still do it? Yeah. So I thought to myself, just like I made the games different,
I
need to make this system different.
Yeah.
So with Half Our Deen, I'm not going to fix speed dating. We're just going to throw it away.
Sure.
We're going to do something different. We're going to start from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
Every single person who comes to the event will have a deep data analysis about themselves. We're going to have all these data points about them, all the details, and we're going to ask once so you don't have to ask anybody. So when you come there and you see that person's profile, they'll have a 6-digit number.
Right.
That digit number, you type it on your phone, you get everything about them. And then it shows your compatibility match with that person.
Right.
Now we're going to do activities. Now, when we do activities, it's going to take even further than that. I'm going to do an activity. Let's say me and you are at the same table. We're doing activities with these other sisters at this table, and we are asking questions that are discovering compatibility. While we're doing this, at other tables, our answers are being calculated with those people's answers. So when the whole activity is over, you can see your match percentage with every single person in this table and in the entire room. Yeah. Without even speaking to them yet. Yeah. And you do that for almost every single activity at the event. Yeah. So when the whole program is over, you're like, wow, I have all this information about all these different women. Right. Now I can have a better idea of, and I interacted with them in person. Right. I have a better idea of who I want to talk to for marriage. Right. Right. That's so different than talking to someone for 3 minutes.
Yeah, no, definitely. It sounds like, do you feel that you've kind of like almost like perfected the method, or do you think there's still room for improvement?
There's room for improvement. Right now we have a 54% match rate. Okay. So 54% of our attendees, when they leave the event, they have matched anonymously with somebody. Okay. Now, the reason I use the word anonymously is because the way men and women think is quite different. See, women, if a guy is found attractive by multiple women, he's only found more attractive by that same sister. Right. So if a lot of her friends find him attractive, she finally finds him a little bit more attractive. But if all her friends find him unattractive, then suddenly the same guy she was attracted to becomes a little bit unattractive. Now, guys don't think that way whatsoever. Right. Guys think the opposite. Guys are like, they don't care what all their friends think. If I find her attractive, she's attractive. If I don't find her attractive, I don't care if all my friends find her attractive. Like, oh, you marry her. I'm not marrying her. Right. So the way guys think is that if she finds me attractive, suddenly that 7 out of 10 just became an 8 out of 10. So it kind of messes your thinking up if you know she finds you attractive. But what if it was anonymous? Right. So our system is anonymous. You don't know she's attracted to you. You don't know she wants to talk to you. And she doesn't know that you're interested in her. Right. It stays anonymous until midnight. At midnight, you guys get an email to notify both parties that the match was there. If
both parties liked each other.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
And that way, the thing is not skewed.
Mhm.
And it's more genuine from the sister side from the
Right.
male side,
Right.
because he's not just interested in her because she's interested in him.
Mhm.
He actually was interested in her. For all these women, he was interested in her. Of
Absolutely.
all these men, she was interested in him.
Right.
And that's what we call a match.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense. I wonder. Okay, so like nowadays, so let's say you find your match and you've married, right? But nowadays you see like there's so many individuals that are in this situation. Like there's a tremendously high divorce rate in the
Yeah.
Muslim community, right? What are your thoughts on almost like what steps should someone that's pursuing marriage, that maybe someone that are early in their marriage, or even wherever they are in their marriage, to kind of like um figure out how to best maintain their relationship and how to ensure that that it's successful at the end.
I think one of the things that causes problems within marriages, aside from that there seems to be not too much compatibility discussion before they got married,
Mm-hmm.
is that a lot of women don't feel like a woman in the relationship. And a lot of men don't feel like men in the relationship. These roles have become fuzzy,
Mm-hmm.
and now, but the opposite gender is expecting those traditional roles from the opposite side,
Right.
and we're not getting that. They don't feel fulfilled.
Right.
So their expectations are not met, and they feel a disconnection. Meanwhile, each gender is trying to become, quote unquote, the modern version of themselves.
Right.
And the modern version of our people today, unfortunately, has a very selfish tone to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's about me first, taking care of myself first. That whole sacrifice for your family and putting others before yourself is completely gone. Everyone's just thinking about how I can benefit out of this.
Right.
And that's a major problem.
Right.
Because if you're thinking about yourself
Right.
and I'm thinking about myself,
Right.
it's the same issue we're going to have when it comes to just same thing as like the business thing I told you just a few minutes ago regarding my board games.
Right.
If I thought I just need to figure out how I can benefit, forget my friends, then what did I say about me?
Yeah.
Like when I made my profile on I didn't have Half Our Deen back then, but when I was looking to get married,
Right.
I did something very unique. And I give the same advice to a lot of people looking to get married.
Right.
I tell them, one thing you guys can do when you guys are looking to get married is that put something on your profile that talks about what you will bring as a husband or a wife to the marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Every profile, even a lot of them on Half Our Deen as well, they'll say, this is what I want. I want. Okay, that's great what you want. But what are you going to give as a spouse? What kind of spouse are you going to be?
Right.
I really haven't thought about that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, of course, you've been only thinking about you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what I did on my profile, I'm not the most handsome person. I didn't have a job. I was 20 something years old.
MashaAllah.
I I had a car that my engine fell out when I was driving it. I had all these things that every checkbox is like, every girl's like, do not marry this guy. I don't have a degree. No degree. And I wasn't Baba Ali. So there's no success, nothing. Right?
Yeah.
So why would a sister be interested in me? Even one sister.
Sure.
17 people contacted me.
SubhanAllah.
All I did is one thing. And I keep telling these people the same advice. So if people are listening from home, listen to this advice. On your profile, no matter what website you're using, don't just talk about what you want. Say what you're going to give. What kind of spouse you're going to be.
Yep.
What to expect. Say, look, for me, as a male, I would say, these are all the things I'm looking for in a wife. And this is the type of husband you should expect that I plan to be.
Right.
Now the person can envision, wow, this person's not just taking, he's giving.
Right. Right.
I think that makes you far more attractive than a lot of the competition out there. And that's what sets you apart from everybody else.
That's some great advice. I know people always look for advice on how they can make themselves a better candidate, right? A better, more attractive to their potential spouse. And I think that the point that you just highlighted there is definitely something I think most people omit, from their bios or whatever you want to call it, right? So I think that's one really good point. Well, any other tips or tidbits do you think from all the experience?
When you're speaking to somebody, ask questions that don't have right or wrong answers. Like one of the advices I give people is like, give them 5 words or 5 characteristics and ask them to order them from the most important to the least important.
Okay.
But make all 5 seem correct.
Yeah.
Like for example, like on Half Our Deen, here we tell them to do a 10. So we tell them, here's 10 things. Tell us which one's the most important. Tell us which one's the least important. For example, patience,
Yeah.
good manners,
Yeah.
a good education, having similar religious understanding,
Right.
neatness, what is like the most, having the same culture, desire for children. I mean, the list goes on.
Right.
But you just take all these words and you just order them from the most important to least important.
That's tough.
But it is tough because
Yeah.
they're all right.
Yeah, exactly.
But just by your order, like if I see a sister's order, desire for a children's number, like not number 10 for her,
Right.
I know she doesn't want to have children.
Right.
If same culture is number 1 for her,
Mhm.
and she's Egyptian and I'm not Egyptian, I'm not going to waste my time.
Exactly. Yeah.
So based on your order, I can see what's flexible for you and what's not important. If neatness is number 10 for you,
Mhm.
you're not very neat. And if it's number 1 for me, which is not, but if it was,
Right.
we're probably going to need to have a discussion
not a
about
good
that.
match. Yeah,
it's not a
right.
good match. So just in your order, we can compare the order.
Right.
So I'll give another example. Do that with like other things, like how you buy stuff.
Mm.
There's 5 things you could buy something:
Mhm.
convenience, price, quality, quantity, or style.
Okay.
So let's say price is number 1 for you.
Right.
And price is number 5 for her.
Oh yeah.
Style is number 1 for her.
Sure.
And style is number 5 for you.
Sure. Yeah.
You guys are going to clash when it comes to buying stuff. How much was this?
Right.
You're like, oh, this is only 500. I
Right.
saved so much money. How are we saving money when you keep buying $500 shoes? So you know what I mean? So you're going to clash. So
Right.
figure this stuff out during the courtship phase,
Right.
so you guys don't argue about this type of stuff.
Right.
So but the thing is, we don't talk about these things.
Yeah.
We find out after we get married.
Right.
So
Right.
even at our events, like recently I did this new activity where I'm going to put people together and you're going to have a real argument that married couples have.
Interesting. Okay.
And I want to see how you guys figure it out. So I'll give you an example.
You're in the simulation right off.
You're in a simulation.
Okay, let's hear it.
Your in-laws are becoming more vocal about the way you're raising your children.
Okay.
Your spouse, could be male or female,
Mm-hmm.
decides they want to avoid conflict and just quiet about it,
Right.
but it's bothering you.
Right.
Deal with it.
Okay. Yeah.
So
I
now
like
2
that.
people are like,
Yeah.
okay, another children question. One of you, we're not saying which one, wants to put your kids in public school because the academic quality of education is higher.
Sure.
And you say, look, they have to figure out how to live with non-Muslims and we just can shelter them forever.
Right.
The other side says, hey,
Right.
we don't like all this nonsense that's being taught in public schools
Right.
and there's no Islamic education. Let's
Right.
put them in Islamic school, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
Both of you are clashing, both of you guys have valid points,
Right.
but now you have to figure it out.
Yeah.
Discuss.
Yeah.
Now imagine doing speed dating with this
Yeah.
element. This shows you, wow,
Yeah.
we are not on the same page. I'm arguing with you. You're arguing with me.
Right.
I don't like the way you argue. I don't like the way you're talking to me.
Right.
Da, da, da. And like, I just dodged a bullet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or the sister's like, man, this guy's yelling at me. We're at a matchmaking event.
Exactly. It's like stress testing someone, right? It's
Yeah.
like basically whenever you come to let's say especially a matchmaking event, you present yourself in the most dignified way you can, right?
Yeah.
And you'll wear the mask, you're completely, you're flawless, there's nothing wrong with you, right? But then if you stress test them, you put them in a situation that, causes them their natural instincts to kind of show, that's when you could kind of see like, in reality
Yeah,
how this person might react.
In the real world, like
Right.
I've designed activities
Right.
as a game developer, because this is what the other organizations can't do.
Mhm.
So they can't develop games because they're not game developers.
Right.
What they're going to do is go buy something from Walmart or Target and say, hey guys, we're playing Uno. Well, how does Uno help me get married? It doesn't. We don't know. Well, Baba Ali's playing games, but they don't realize what kind of games I'm doing. I
Mm.
designed my games.
Right.
I put everything together and there's thought put into it. I
Right.
didn't just randomly do this.
Right.
So when there's an activity, there's a reason why we're doing it. And
Right.
when you finish doing it, you're like, wow, I'm able to kind of like choose who I don't want and who I want based on this activity. But
Right.
I can play Uno and reverse Uno on with you all day. That's not going to help me
Yeah.
decide.
Yeah, exactly. I think the only thing it would show is if you play by the official rules or if you play by house rules. That's
Yeah.
that's the only distinction if they'll give you what kind of upbringing you had. But
I had a
actually,
negotiating game.
yeah,
And that negotiating game, I had friends who were single when they were looking to get married. They would be going and doing my activities at my single events, and they'll come back and give me feedback.
mm,
So one friend, he was telling me, I was doing your negotiating game,
Mhm.
and this guy came to my table, and tables were negotiating with each other.
okay,
So everyone's negotiating to get things that the other side has what you need,
sure,
and you have what they need.
yeah,
So
yeah.
everyone's trying to negotiate. And I
Yeah.
purposely put this all mixture together. He said one guy tried to steal from me and I caught him. Another female came to him and said, "You will take this." And so I don't want it. You will take it. And the guy's like, "Okay, calm down." And he's like, I saw a lot of mannerisms and behavior I would have never seen during that speed dating aspect where everyone's putting their best foot forward.
Yeah.
Because they're in interview mode.
Exactly.
And if you're going for a job, you're going to show your true. You're not going to show your true colors. You're going to show you can put your best foot forward.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that's excellent. That's excellent. You know, and it's kind of a shame, right? Like, because okay, so Half Our Deen, you run these live events yourself. You're personally there at every single one, and you're doing this throughout the year, like kind of
about
nonstop.
15 to 17 a year, yeah.
Okay, and you know when I hear that, you know, it sounds like you have such a great product and a service that the Muslim community really needs, but the bottleneck is you, right?
Yes.
Like there's only so many places Baba Ali can be, you know,
and
simultaneously.
A certain number of events. So this is why about 24% of our attendees travel. They come from out of state.
Okay.
So imagine a singles event where people fly and fly and fly. They come even outside the country to come for our event.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And what's funny is they have Muslim organizations that are single organizations in their city, and like, I'd rather fly to yours. So you won't drive to the local one, but you'll get on a flight that costs $400 or $500.
Right.
Rent a hotels can cost $150. Get the Ubers, and you're coming to my event, and about 1 out of every 4 people.
Right.
That's huge. So that tells me that these other organizations are either not getting it, or they're so much into it for the money that they're not making the decisions that are making sense for the single Muslims. Because the single Muslims are paying way more money for the flight and the hotel.
Right.
They will pay money.
Right.
It's not, but they don't realize that sometimes I deal with organizations and I'm trying to give them advice. They just see the dollar signs. They're like, hey, I like your service, but you don't make as much money as we do. I'll give you, let me explain what I mean.
Yeah.
We're the only organization that not only has a 1-to-1 male to female ratio.
Okay.
But we also ask you for your age preference. Like we ask all the men what's the maximum age that you'll consider, and ask all the women what's the maximum age that you'll consider. And based on that, we know who to accept for that specific event.
Right.
The other organizations don't do that. What they do is they decide who should get married. I don't agree with that. Let me tell you, I'll prove it. They'll say 22 to 40 is, or sorry, they don't even go 40. 22 to 35 is our age range for our event.
Sure.
Okay. Who decided 35 is the maximum age you should get married?
Exactly. Yeah.
Who are you?
Right.
You married your cousin. You didn't even go through this process. So how are you dictating it for us?
Right.
What if there's an amazing 36-year-old sister that's looking to get married? So you're saying she's too old? Okay, where is she supposed to go now?
Exactly.
What if about a 38-year-old brother? Where is he supposed to go?
Right.
Well, we don't know.
Right.
But you guys are the ones organizing events, especially if it's a masjid that says, okay, you guys are serving our needs. Where are you guys cutting this off? And my argument to these single event organizations is ask the attendees what the maximum age is.
Right.
Don't decide for them. And the other issue is because they put a range, the two groups that have the most challenging times to get married, getting married are going to sign up first. So you get older sisters in their mid-30s and late 30s, and the younger brothers in their early 20s.
Okay.
Put those people in a room together and watch what happens. Nothing happens because 38-year-old sister is not interested in a 22-year-old brother, but they all fit the age range. So the system is broken. They don't really care very much because they're making money off of it.
Right.
And the few masjids that do care and realize the system is broken, they reach out to me and say, hey, Baba Ali, you have a 54% match rate? Yes. We know many people who've come to your events from our community that fly down and they're asking you to bring you to our community.
Right.
And then the challenge I have is once I lock in with the certain community, they don't want to let me go. So for Pleasanton, as of the time of recording this podcast, I've done about 8 events for them in the last less than 3 years.
Oh, wow.
8 events in less than 3 years?
Yeah. And
they asked me, can you secure 3 more events for the upcoming year?
So let me ask a question about that, right? At what cadence do you think is appropriate for a community to hold an in-person matrimonial event, right? Is it like once a year? Is that sufficient? Does it like how do you determine what's ideal?
I personally, if it's up to me, I think they should do it twice a year.
Okay.
Some communities that are larger, maybe 3 times a year.
Okay.
The challenge is there's barely any of these events going on. And when they do speed dating, it doesn't really fulfill. It's almost like, hey, we're hungry. Here's some candy. It's not going to fulfill your nutritional needs. Like, okay, you get all the candy in the world. It's not going to help us.
Right.
So they can say we had an event.
Right.
But what is that event? What kind of event was it? Did it work?
Right.
No. So they don't want to, who cares if you have 5 events that don't work per year?
Okay. Okay. Interesting.
There's two groups of people that usually are interested in this. There's the Muslim entrepreneurs that are interested in doing single events because they see dollar signs. And then there's the masjids who don't care about the money,
Yeah.
and they have volunteers that care about serving the needs, but they have absolutely no expertise in this.
Right.
So those are the two groups that usually contact me and say, "Hey, can we do something?"
So let me ask you this then. I mean, I know the bottleneck is really, with your availability and your schedule, right? But is this something within the realm of possibility that maybe it can be like almost like a Half Our Deen certification, or some sort of like you basically train people to be able to administer similar types of events in their local communities,
I
what
tried.
have you? Yeah.
They didn't have the same passion. It's like to me is yes, I want them to make a profit, and I try to make it profitable for them. Like when an organization invites me,
Mm-hmm.
I say, "How about this?
Mm-hmm.
You guys, if I have a hosting fee, you guys pay for me my hosting fee."
Right.
And by the way, they don't even pay for me.
Mm-hmm.
They pay my wife to borrow me.
Okay.
It sounds crazy, but people are like, "Hey, Baba Ali, how do you get away with doing all these events? Doesn't your wife say, hey, you have to stay home more often?"
Sure.
I said, "No, this is her job."
Right.
So what she does is like, "Look, I don't want to work." She's like, "I don't want to work a full-time job like other people. If you want to borrow my husband for Saturday, that's my weekend time with him."
She rents you out. Yeah.
She rents me out and says, "Hey, you can borrow my husband, but you're paying me for my time.
Sure.
That's my time with my husband. You want to buy that time off of me?" And he charges organizations for that.
Okay.
So organizations are sure, we'll buy that Saturday from you.
Sure.
And that's how she does it.
Okay.
So that's how I get away with it.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's number one. So number two is since I'm not getting paid, I want to do something I actually enjoy, and it has to be meaningful, and it has to work.
Right.
If people aren't getting married off of this and the whole system's not working, then I'm not really interested in doing it. So that's why every time people who've been to my events is like, I can tell that you really do care about this.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell how much thought you put in every activity.
Right.
Like even the order of the activities makes, like somebody walks into the room and says, "Why is the room so dark?" And that's one of the first questions people ask me. Why is the room so dark? I say it's purposely made dark on purpose.
Right.
By the second activity, it gets a little bit more light. Third activity, by the fourth activity, it's fully lit. Like, why? I said, because people are self-conscious about going to these events. The room is going to be lit.
Oh, so you could go hide.
You can feel like you're in stealth mode. But as you become more and more comfortable, the light starts turning on because the activities are designed to make you feel comfortable.
I like that. I'm curious. So did you read into like the psychology behind these things? Like, do you have like experts in the Half Our Deen team? I'm so curious. Like, you're implementing so many good things, right? Like, is that just experience?
I just experience and just studying people.
Gotcha.
Like, I mean, watching the behaviors, the behaviors of Muslims and what our challenges are. Listen to what their experiences are.
Yeah.
Find out what's hard for them.
Right.
And make it something so it's a little bit easier, so I'm a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah. SubhanAllah.
I tell people that they tell me oftentimes, "Dude, kind of like forgot I'm on a matchmaking, but I'm having so much fun. I never thought it was gonna be like this." So what? It's like the activity design was so interesting.
Right.
Like as I said, who's gonna put you in an activity where you're arguing with each other?
Right.
About what marriage life is, like a real life marriage situation.
Right.
That's unique. I had a friend who contacted me. One of my closest friends, and he said, "Ali, I'm on the Muslim swiping app. I'm on your website. I'm looking to get married, and I need you to make me my own activity." I said, "What do you mean your own activity?" He said, "I'm doing the activities at your event, but I want my own activity that I can do with a sister once I meet them on app, through a friend, through this." And I said, "What is the purpose of this activity? That they can't tell me what I want to hear. I want the real truth of exactly how she thinks."
Okay.
And I said, I bet you a lot of sisters are in the same boat, because a lot of women cannot tell the difference between if the guy is telling you the truth,
right,
or just telling you what you want to hear.
Right.
So I said, okay, I will design an activity. Took me a month.
I
designed the activity and I gave it to him.
Okay.
He used that. He got married, and he was the last friend I had left that was single. And now they're all married.
Allahu Akbar.
So I implemented that activity last October. And that's the only activity that we do at our events that we do back to back, which means that we do it twice at every event. And people really, really almost at every event.
Are these activities like publicly available? Are they like
No, they're built into an app that's designed at the event. The reason why I had to make them Muslim proof.
Yeah.
So I had to make that term up. The word Muslim proof is because so many organizations have tried to copy what I do.
Right.
Every single time I design an activity, I have to assume that some Muslim is sitting there figuring out how to copy me.
Right.
I've had major Islamic institutions
and
masjids copy word by word what I do and then put their name on it.
Okay.
As if they made it.
Okay. That's actually crazy. I mean,
So I had to
it's
make it Muslim proof. And people like, why are these little digits on the card?
right.
I said I had to do it so the people who steal this wouldn't understand unless they have a decoder system that why these digits are there. So the system they wouldn't be able to do this. I had to make it quote unquote Muslim proof. So I actually spent a lot of time making things Muslim proof. It takes more effort to do so, but since I made it Muslim proof, no one has been able to copy it.
So maybe Muslim proof is not the right term here. Maybe it's like
Unfortunately, it's
like
a term that I have to
anti-theft.
use.
Yeah, subhanallah.
We're a
Yeah,
copy paste ummah.
that's crazy.
When was the last time we talk about, we made algebra, we
Uh-huh.
had the number 0, we had all the sciences. When was the last time Muslims invented something? Why do we have to go back 1,000 years? We don't have smart people?
Mhm.
Across the board, everything from rocket scientists to nuclear engineers to the people at the tech industry, we
Yeah.
have Muslims across the board at every major company.
Absolutely.
Do we not?
Absolutely.
Very smart people. I know a lot of smart people.
Yeah.
Places I have spoken at and met Muslims at Harvard, MIT, almost all the major universities. I met so many smart Muslims.
Absolutely.
When was the last time we made something? The reason why is because we have become accustomed to copying and pasting. Even if you're an MSA at a university and we do a skit, we don't make our own skit.
Mhm.
We just copy something that non-Muslims made
Mhm.
and we just put our own twist to it.
Yeah.
So if it's Survivor, we call it Muslim Survivor. If it's The Office, the show, the Muslim Office show. Why can't we make our own stuff? So when I made my board games, I didn't say I'm copying Catan or copying call it Catan, call it Matan. Muslim Catan. No. I wanted blends of things that I liked about Catan, things I like about Ticket to Ride,
Yeah.
and put my own little twist to it, put those things together.
Yeah.
So it's a unique game.
Yeah.
My second game, Kalimat, is completely different than anything else that Muslims have ever seen from non-Muslims before.
Right.
I said, I'm going to make our own thing. I want
Yeah.
non-Muslims to copy us.
Right.
Let us be the trend. So I had NPR say, hey, we're covering the story for Half Our Deen offline event, for the live event.
Mhm.
I had BBC contact me.
Right.
I say, hey, we want to come and do the story about this. Not
Yeah.
because you're Muslim.
Right.
We just found this system amazing.
Right.
That to me is like, wow, now they're not caring about if we're Muslim or not.
Right.
We built something that non-Muslims are looking at and say, wow, your system is very unique.
SubhanAllah.
Instead of us copying speed dating,
Right.
how about we build something that they're copying us?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But even now, even the most successful Muslims
Right.
are copying, as I said, Tinder.
Right.
They didn't make anything special.
Right.
They literally, sorry,
Yeah. No, this
they
is
almost got sued, but I mean, they copy us so much. Even the non-Muslim, come on, man.
yeah.
This ain't even legal what you guys are doing. You can't copy us like that much.
Right,
So like,
right.
yeah, we have to make something different, unique. Even my own personality test. I went to other non-Muslims, other Muslim sites. They copied basically Myers and Briggs, and sometimes they copied down to the question. They copied the same system,
Right.
ISW, whatever.
Right.
I said, I want to build my own system,
Right.
my own personality test.
Right.
So they can't say I copied it.
Mhm.
So whatever you like or dislike about me, you're like, okay, he didn't copy word by word.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying. We have to be those people who make the change, the difference, inshallah.
SubhanAllah. Yeah. No, those are so many good points. I mean, I'm so like I'm actually like there's so many different directions I want to take this, but I'm actually curious about. So you have a lot of good insight on just this matrimonial process, and then Muslims getting married. I'm curious about like so you're a father, right? How many children?
2 daughters.
2 daughters, mashallah. I'm curious about Baba Ali, the father, as well. Like, I know you had started a children's show. I imagine probably because you had your daughters, right?
Actually, I was invited by a couple, Milo Productions,
Okay.
and I was supposed to do stand-up comedy. This is during my stand-up comedy days,
Uh-huh.
and they asked me to do a comedy. I was supposed to do comedy that night,
Right.
the following night. They
Okay.
said, hey, what are you doing from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. tomorrow? I'm like, nothing. The show's at 6 p.m. How about you do this little children's series? I'm like, I'm not an actor.
Right.
So no, don't worry. You don't have to even talk. Just have to say, Assalamu alaikum, which I did with the Hooray for Baba Ali kids.
Right.
We recorded 13 episodes in 12 hours.
SubhanAllah.
And that the whole thing just took off.
Right.
And the second year I came back, we did another show with them, and that really did really well.
Mhm.
And then the following few years later, I did Baba Ali Kids. So each of those were just something I wanted to do, something different, something unique.
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough. Milo Productions, they take all the credit. They deserve all the credit, for putting all that program together. For Baba Ali Kids, I edited, I directed
SubhanAllah.
somewhat of
Yeah.
and acted into this show.
Right.
So I put it all kind of pieces together with a bunch of my friends as well.
Yeah.
And we made the kids show. I told myself, let's do something unique. And my friends are similarly.
Yeah.
They say, we're gonna have kids one day.
Right.
Let's make a show that's
Yeah.
gonna be fun and different and unique, and
Right.
even non-Muslims could watch. So
Right.
Baba Ali kids, non-Muslims. I had a non-Muslim contact me and said, my kids watch your show.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a Muslim show.
Yeah, that's
They like it.
Mashallah, that's amazing. Yeah, definitely to be able to like become mainstream. That's a big leap. But I would be disappointed in myself if I didn't ask you, like, what advice do you have for parents? You know, as a father of daughters, even, right? You know, directly to the fathers of daughters, even. What I want a gem from you on just advice and parenting.
So, yeah, I'll give you advice that's not going to be. I would be considered abnormal.
Okay, perfect.
All right.
I wouldn't expect any less.
Yeah, so I'm abnormal myself. So I'd say abnormal raise my children. Like my children never had a bedtime when they're growing up. I figure when they get tired, they get tired.
Okay.
I wasn't like, hey, you have to eat. I've never seen a kid starve before.
Right.
You eat when you're hungry. If you're not hungry, don't eat.
Sure.
So this was very weird.
Yeah.
And then I don't force culture down my children's throats.
Okay.
They're Muslim first.
Right.
That's the most important thing. And kids, in fact, my kids didn't know what they were until they got older. When they were like in middle school, says, Papa, what are we? What's our ethnicity? Because everyone keeps talking about it. I keep telling people, like, what are you? I'm Pakistani. What are you? I'm Arab. What are you? I'm Muslim? And they don't know what to say because they didn't grow up with culture. I made Islam as their culture because I'm a convert. And Islam, I chose Islam.
Right.
So I wanted to show them the true Islam.
Right.
So what I did with them as growing up, I did something different. When they were young, every time they finish Salah, I would give them candy. Until it was so bad that the dentist said you're full of cavities. I kid you not. I had to stop it. Then I started doing something even more controversial. I started giving them money for Salah.
Okay.
So now they're like 5 years old, 6 years old,
Yeah.
and they're getting 25 cents for every Salah.
Just balling.
Cashing in. So what happens after that is people are like, you can't pay your kids to pray Salah. They're 5.
Sure.
They don't have to even pray.
Right.
But what they're doing is associating reward with this. So when they're 3, 4 years old,
Right.
or even 5 years old, candy isn't a reward. You can't explain to them the hereafter and Allah. They don't understand that.
Right.
That's why they're not accountable.
Right.
So you give them the reward. Then as they get older, money, because they can buy things now,
Yeah.
that becomes reward. But then as they get older past that, love. Till now, even though they're 17, now 18 and 21, I still will hug them and kiss them after Salah oftentimes.
Mashallah.
Because when they were young, they associated love with Salah. When they got old, they associated love with Salah.
SubhanAllah.
So I never had to tell them, you have to pray Salah. I don't have to yell at them. I remember one time my kids were young. They're like probably 6 or 8 or something. They're playing in the living room. And I'm in my bedroom. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, I'm doing the Ghama. The kids are running, and their friends playing with the toys. No, come with us. What is it? Come with us. You get candy. Just follow us. And kids will run. They're just all lining up. Do what we do. And this is what they do. Assalamu alaikum, assalamu alaikum. Candy, please. So they got associated with it. They associate candy with it. Even when we did it at the masjid, we have a candy jar this big, and all the kids will be. You don't have to yell to the kids to come praise Allah. They're lining up for the candy.
Yeah.
So as they grow old, they associate reward with this Salah.
Exactly.
And then just is that positive rather than yelling at your kids and shoving it down their throat.
Exactly.
Make what Islam is something beautiful. It's something amazing. Yeah.
No, that's beautiful. Definitely utilizing that positive reinforcement for, like instilling good habits.
By the way, I don't pay them anymore for Salah. So if you're watching kids, don't expect the paycheck on this. But yeah.
You're behind on payments.
Yeah, so, hey, I don't get paid. Yeah. By the way, for the parents that are home, this is what I would do. I would suggest you guys make a little calendar and put Monday through Friday, and then put the 5 salahs and say the more salahs you get, the more check boxes you get, and the more checks you get, we're gonna go get a prize. So you get a blue prize, a green prize, a red prize, and this is the type of prizes you guys get when we go to the toy store. So fill it up.
Yeah.
So once we get all these checks, every time you pray salah, you get another X.
Right.
So obviously, if I can pray 5 salahs a day, I'm going to maximize, so I can get a gift per month.
Exactly.
And then you go to Ross and again.
There you go. Okay.
Go to Target, Walmart, and just buy them something, and
it's
worth it because those kids, the connection they have with their deen makes it amazing, inshallah.
Absolutely. Mashallah. Let's see, what else do we have to touch on? Honestly, I had a few things. I'm so curious. I had this segment where I wanted to do just take hot takes from Baba Ali because I'm sure you have so many, and, but it's gonna take us down a rabbit hole. But if you have like maybe like one or two really good hot takes, I would love to hear. I would love to hear your unorthodox mind in its.
I think we often look for investors,
Mhm.
right? Like I need a person who guessed like $18,000 told me to make my board game.
Yeah.
What I did is I said, listen, I need $18,000, but I know most people don't have $18,000
Right.
at the younger age we were at.
Yep.
So I said, if each person puts $1,000 in, we'll make 18 shares at $1,000 each.
Mhm.
Some of you can afford 2 shares. Some can afford 3.
Right.
Some of course only can afford 1. But
Mhm.
even the person who can afford 1, you should be able to jump into.
Right.
So now imagine this if you're older and you do this as a business.
Right.
Or you do it as a home if you even have more money.
Right.
And then you suddenly put your money together
Mhm.
and now you can buy things and invest in things that before you couldn't.
Right.
Because if you only have $1,000, what am I supposed to do with the money?
Exactly.
But now if I have 1,000 and you have 1,000, you have 1,000, with 20 grand, we can do something.
Right.
If we get a bunch of us to come together, when we have 100 grand,
Right.
200 grand, suddenly all these different opportunities open the door.
Right. Right.
And the way I discovered this is many years ago, back
Mhm.
in 2000-ish, me and my friend wanted to start an internet cafe. We didn't have the money. It was like 100 grand or something with all the money for like 1 year rent and all the equipment and everything.
Mhm.
So a friend of a friend told us, hey, there's a guy that will listen to your pitch, almost like a Muslim Shark Tank,
Yeah, there you go.
and go
Yeah.
there and talk about it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, let's go to this guy's house.
Yeah.
So we went to the guy's house and he said, okay, what do you guys want to do?
He turns around in his chair. Yeah.
Yeah, he turns around in his chair like, how much you need?
Yeah,
100
exactly,
grand. All right, pitch it to me.
Right.
And as soon as we start pitching, I'm like, hold up. He's like, what is it? You barely met us. How do you have 100 grand
Right.
to give us for opportunity?
Right.
I don't care about the 100 grand anymore. I don't even care about my business. I want to know how you got to sit in that seat.
Exactly.
How did you become a shark?
Right.
And he said, well, I came into this country. I live with my brother and my wife.
Mm-hmm.
We lived in a 2-bedroom or 1-bedroom
Mhm.
apartment.
Mm-hmm.
Or I don't know if his brother slept on the couch and they had the bedroom, and
Sure.
there was just in a very crowded space.
Yeah. Frugal. Yeah.
Yeah, frugal. And we each had a little bit of money. So what
Mhm.
we did, we put our money together. We all worked, put our money together, and we go buy used cars from the towing place
Mm.
and fix them up and sell it.
Mhm.
And we keep doing it and keep doing. Individually, we had no money,
Mhm.
but together we can put our money together to buy a car.
Right.
And then we started doing this with homes.
Right.
And now we're so wealthy that we can talk to a person and say, give you 100 grand.
Right. Right.
And I said, okay, I'm done. I don't care about the internet cafe anymore.
Right.
That's when I said, I'm gonna go build this board game. I know
Mhm.
what to do with the 18,000. I'm gonna go get 1,000 per person to
Right.
do something like this.
Right. Right. Right.
And as I grew and got older, I said, okay, I'm gonna try to do this with other things too.
Yeah.
And I met other people who do things like, hey, the guy was flipping homes and he was asking only 25,000.
Mhm.
So 25,000 doesn't buy you a home.
Right.
It does if you have 10 people.
Yeah.
If you have 20 people,
Right.
now you have 500K, 800K, now, and we're buying all cash.
Yeah.
And every home becomes its own LLC.
Right.
So you may jump on one investment
Right,
and
you have
jump
your
another
shares, yeah,
investment, and you
yeah.
keep flipping the same.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So people who are looking for halal investment opportunities, when you
Right.
can't find it, you have to make your own.
Right.
Do
Right.
things the right way, do things Islamically,
Exactly.
and there's barakah in the process.
Absolutely.
And that's the same
Absolutely.
advice I would give people looking to get married.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people that are failing right now, that are not looking, that everything you try
Yeah.
tends to fail when you're looking to get married,
Yeah.
is maybe there's no barakah in the process.
Right. SubhanAllah.
And the reason why is because you say, I will do things the halal way once everything works out. No, the process itself has to be halal. So what is halal? These are things that Muslims don't think about.
Right.
I'm meeting this girl online or meeting this guy online, and now you guys are talking.
Yeah.
When you're talking, what are the rules of engagement?
Mm.
Oh, we really don't have rules. Like, okay, like we'd just be like what I think is okay and what you think is
Sure.
okay.
Yeah.
That doesn't work.
Yeah.
Any non-Muslim knows that. So what do you
Right.
mean non-Muslim?
Right.
Go to your business,
Right.
anywhere you guys work, there's something called an HR department.
Right.
That HR department has decided, completely secular, that you cannot say this to her. She cannot say this to him. You cannot even look at him or her this way. You cannot touch them this way. You have all these rules of engagement between each other.
Right.
Why do we need this? It has nothing to do with Islam.
Right.
Of course it doesn't. But if we don't have these rules, we're not going to have a productive environment. We're going to have chaos. So when Muslims say, hey, we don't need these rules, we
Yeah.
just each do our own thing,
Yeah.
this would never work
Yeah.
because, first of all, aside from no barakah in the process, human beings don't have a rules of engagement, you're going to have issues.
Mhm.
So now we have all these things about the way men are behaving, the women are behaving. This, I can't believe she said this to me. I can't believe he sent this vulgar message to me, and these pictures and all this other crazy stuff.
Right.
There's no barakah in the process. So, and then you go and meet these people on platforms when they're not even looking to get married. So you have to ask yourself, if I'm on a platform and 10 people have contacted me and none of these people seem to be serious, they're not on the wrong platform. You are.
Right.
That's the part you don't realize. But this is a Muslim thing. They have the halal certificate. It doesn't mean anything. The whole thing's a joke.
Right.
Anyone can put a certificate on it. There's no rules here. There's no checks and balances. There's nobody conducting an investigation to make sure your website is doing the right thing.
Right.
It's on the honor system. So I have no one to be accountable for except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only one judging me.
Right. SubhanAllah. I want to kind of round out our conversation, SubhanAllah. We've talked on so many different things, but then just talking about leaving a legacy, what is like your purpose? What is what is your goal in life almost like and obviously, many people, obviously you're going to say like get, attain Jannah, having Allah's pleasure, but I'm curious, like as far
aside
as
from those things.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I want to, any project that I want to work on, I want to go into it and see, can I make something better? Can I make something different than no one has done before? If I don't do that, or if I can't do that, I no longer want to work on that project. I'll walk away. I don't care how successful, I don't care how much money it makes. When I made my first game, Mecca to Medina, I had 400 orders that I canceled all of them. I said, I have no interest in this. I've already made this thing successful. I don't need to reprint all this stuff again. And my wife's like, what do you mean? We worked so hard and now it's a money-making machine. I say, yeah, the money's nice. Money's nice, but I need to go work on something brand new. Let's make a first Muslim party game. It's like, what? We have a negotiated game. And then I made that and it was more successful than the first one.
Right.
And as soon as that's successful, I want to go make the first board game. I mean, the first matchmaking website that's different and private and listen. And then when that became successful, I'll move on to something. Let's do live events. It's like, what? Focus on the thing. No, let's do something different. So as soon as Half Our Deen, the live events become very successful, I see myself moving on to something completely different. Which one? I don't know. I just have to find something that maybe it's the halal investment thing. Maybe we make a Muslim Shark Tank that will do something unique that no one has done before. Attract non-Muslims who want to invest in halal investments. It's easy getting Muslims who want to invest.
Of course.
Can we get non-Muslims who don't care about, who says, look, I don't care about that you guys don't deal with alcohol or riba and stuff like that. I just want to make money.
Exactly.
And say, hey, we have something that can make you guys money.
Yeah.
We'll show you a system that can make you guys profit.
Absolutely.
That's what I want to do. I want to change the way we do things. From the board games to the matchmaking website to the children's show to the movies. Every way, let's make it different. From the YouTube videos it all started from.
Yeah.
We can do it. And I'm just one person that has no college degree, no education, had a car that my engine fell out when I looked to get married. I broke every single rule. I'm a convert that got married throughout this whole crazy process without a Muslim community, all this other stuff. And if I could do it, anyone can do it.
MashaAllah. It's a beautiful story. It's a beautiful story, and we can draw inspiration from so many different parts there. Jazakallah khair, barakallahu feek. May Allah grant your wife extra patience with dealing with you. SubhanAllah. You keep mentioning like, oh, we stopped printing. I'm like, even me, I'm like, keep printing the board games.
That's frustrating for us. Like, what are you working on now? I have no idea.
I can imagine, but mashallah, may Allah put barak in all of your endeavors. Half Our Deen, it's a great website, and I really look forward to everything else that you will continue to work on and see what success it brings to the ummah. It's again, jazakallah khair. I really appreciate it.
And for all those who are watching these videos, make sure you guys subscribe to these videos. This is the upcoming podcast that you guys definitely want to be part of. I came here because this is something special, inshallah, and hopefully you guys will discover that too, inshallah.
MashaAllah. This guy's professional.